Rogue Radio. Now available on Mixcloud at mixcloud.com/Rogue Country. Keep it rogue.
What's going on, guys? Of course, keep it rogue. This week, the week this podcast launches, Rogue Country are going to have some fucking exciting, phenomenal news to share with you all, and I really can't wait for you guys to find out. I've been working hard to put this together, and I really can't wait to share with you the future of Rogue Country and live music in the UK. If you're a fan of country and roots and Americana, you're going to fucking love these announcements, so please stay tuned on the Rogue Country Facebook page. In the meantime, Vandals, how you guys doing? I'm Mike West. I'm recording this on the 29th of September. I get married in 3 days. It's fucking crazy. And before this week, I've been on tour. I've been really busy in September with the mighty Cam Cole. I opened for him in Liverpool, Birmingham, Glasgow, and Edinburgh. And I can't thank Cam and Marcus, his manager, enough for bringing me along for the ride, because it has been some of the best shows I've ever played to. The crowds have been fantastic. The merch has been actually selling, which is phenomenal. And I can't thank everyone who came to those shows enough. Obviously, I'm not the reason people went. Cam is the headliner, rightfully so, because he's fucking phenomenal. He's built up this incredibly loyal fan base that is just so great to watch from like the side of the stage and just see the reaction he brings about in people. And just to be able to open those shows has been amazing. It's been lucky that, you know, people have been receptive to my music, and you don't always get that. You don't always know what's going to happen when you're a support slot, and I just couldn't have wished for a better run of shows. So thank you so much, Cam. Edinburgh and Glasgow was sold out. I then went to London to play with 10 Sheds. That was sold out, and you know, I can't take any credit for these, but it feels fucking good to be able to say that 3 of those shows in September were completely sold out. Obviously, while I was on the road with Cam, I had to get him onto the podcast, so we have an amazing chat. But before we get to that, this podcast is of course brought to you today by my debut record, The Next Life. If you saw me on Cam's tour, I had copies there. People bought them, and people were really kind about it, man. You know, I didn't expect people to buy merch, but they did, and they did it in droves, which I can't thank people enough for. I'm going to drop a little teaser here for you now. Am I free? And if you didn't pick up a copy there, don't worry, you can go to mike333west.com and you'll be able to pick up your own copy there on my Bandcamp, link through the Facebook, wherever you want, we've got you covered. But September's been a trip, man. It's been tiring, but I've been grateful to do it. I think I traveled like 1,700 miles, and I got to play in, you know, Scotland, which I haven't played for ages, and then I did London, and after London I drove back home, had 2 hours sleep, and then did a Liverpool gig. The set is up on YouTube if you want to go check it out, on Collect and Survive, a pop-up record store in Liverpool. That was amazing. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to having a couple of weeks off. I'm going to be scheduling a ton of posts so I don't have to touch things, but I'm so glad I got to sit down with Cam Cole. Cam is a really fucking nice dude. He's really interesting. The conversations we got to have in between the shows when we were going for food and stuff beforehand was just amazing. To see the reaction to his shows from the crowd was just amazing. To see him on his way to such great things, and he's already doing fucking killer, man. Those shows have sold out. I know he's just gonna rock it until, you know, he expands to his other projects as we get onto it in the podcast, and it's just a really fucking good talk. So without further ado, oh, by the way, I've changed the intro. I've dropped out my talking over the music, so it's just a music intro to ease you into this. Without further ado, this is episode 41 of Into the Van with Mike West and Cam Cole. We're recording now. But yeah, do you listen to many podcasts or anything on your drives or anything? What do you fill your spaces with when you like?
Mainly, it's just listening to tunes. To be honest, I don't really listen to that many podcasts. To be honest, I mean, I have listened to them before in the past. But to be honest with you, I've listened to most of the podcasts I listen to has been ones with myself.
Yeah.
I've been interviewed or whatever. You know what I mean? It's not something I usually do. No. Yeah, it's mainly I just listen to my own playlists.
Yeah.
And when I get bored of the tunes I've heard a million times, I try and find new music if I can. You know.
Yeah. What have you been spinning like lately? What's been on your playlists?
I've got a few different playlists. I've got one which is like folk music, one which is rock, one which is like metal. And then I've got like the subgenres. So I've got like stoner rock, grunge. Do you know what I mean? Blues rock as well. That's another one of my playlists. But on the rock playlist, that's like the biggest. That's all the tunes basically of all the subgenres and everything. So I just play that if I want to hear a mixture of more. You know.
Yeah. Cool, man. And obviously, this is your first tour. How's the experience been? Like, it's hard sometimes because I know with gigs and tours, you don't really want to go in with expectations of things.
Yeah.
What's it kind of like? Did you have any preconceptions before you started like doing this? When you started booking this?
I don't think I did actually. No, I don't think I did. I tell you what. The gig I did before the tour, which was like I think it was the album release gig. So it was like the pre-tour gig. That one really got me ready for the tour because it's been like a couple of years since I played because of the lockdown and everything. Since I played to my fan base, and my fan base has grown a lot since then. And like the last couple of gigs I did in 2019, there might have been about 20 people in a room who were like, knew the lyrics to the songs, that kind of thing. Whereas when after lockdown, I did that first gig, it was like 100 people in the room. So it really took me by surprise. It took me a while to settle into the space for that gig. But after I got that show out of the way, every gig on the tour I've been pretty comfortable. It's been nice. It's been a nice learning curve. And yeah, it's my first like proper tour, I suppose, because I've toured before in the past, but it's never been to this size fan base or audience. But yeah, I think that's it really. I don't think I had any other expectations or anything. No.
Cool, man. And what do you think like moved the needle during lockdown to like where you got exposed to like more people and stuff? I'm
not sure, man. I think that I think the snowball was already in place from so many years on the road, just busking in every possible town, busking every single weekend, playing with the gigs that I did play, and just doing everything that I did. I was constantly busy, constantly active. And it would, as I said, like I was already filling rooms with about 20 people at the time. I just started to do gigs in 2019. For years I didn't do any gigs, I didn't bother with them because I was just like, this is pointless. I'm playing to empty rooms, no one's coming, I haven't got a following, I haven't got a fan base, so I just played on the streets, when I started to get people coming in through the door, when me and my manager were trying it out, it was a good indication that the snowball was definitely rolling, and I've had loads of people messaging me from other parts of the world, like USA and stuff like that, from that same snowball. So I think it was already kind of going. I think 2 years is a long time, and I reckon it would have grown regardless, And then there was that Ted Lasso thing I did as well, but that was in 2019. I think that came out in 2020. I think regardless, I think it would have been the same, to be honest. Everyone always thinks there's going to be one moment.
One thing that like turns it.
But it's not. It's lots and lots of things, you know?
Well, that was the interesting thing, man. When I was playing Birmingham with you the other day, loads of people came up to me and were like, so is this your first tour? I was like, no, I've been like around for a while. And you were like, yeah, but I've not heard of you before. And I was like, because you've not come to any of my gigs.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's like it's like, until people are exposed to you, they don't realise you've been around for a while. It's a really
that's
weird,
it. They think you've just suddenly just turned up. It's like, no, I've been here 20 years, mate. Playing in this venue.
But it's such a weird, like, it is like it's 7 years to be an overnight success. But with your stuff, with it being a one-man band and things, when did you start adding the drums in? Was that like you did it all part and parcel? Were you playing the guitar first and then brought in like the percussion later, or was it all you decided to bring it all in one go? It
was what it was as I used to play with a drummer, and I had it was still under the name Cam Cole, because I did bands and stuff in the past, and I struggled with that, and I was like, I'm just going to do my own solo thing and get in musicians, and so I did that with a few different drummers for a while, and then it started to get into that same band scenario,
Yeah.
to be honest, of politics and bullshit. So what I did was, I think at that point, is I just had like a stripped down blues set, and basically what I did is I put just a stomp box that I made out of a guitar pickup, and build a wooden box with a metal top, and then you put a pickup underneath the metal top bit, and then plug it in. Basically, it's a stomp box. And yeah, I was playing that for like a year or so, a couple of years, and to be honest, I didn't really put too much attention on the show at that point. For the first like 3 years, I didn't really give a monkeys, to be honest. I had like about a set of 5 songs. I'd go out and busk, and that made me my money throughout the week, and I was living in a van, you know. And it just started to grow, and I think the reason, do you know how it grew, right? I remember what it was. I was busking this one place in the Tate Modern, which is it's on South Bank, which is basically on the Thames, and there's an art gallery called the Tate Modern, and I was busking there. It was one of my spots, and the council came out to me and said, my stomp box is too loud, you've got to change it. I was like, I had a bit of an argument with them, and eventually I was like, all right, okay, I'll do it. I'll keep the spot and I'll keep playing here. I'll just change it. I'll get something that's a bit not so loud. So I changed it for a tambourine. It's one of those little foot tambourines. So that was when it started to change, and it was not because I intended it to. And then all of a sudden I had a tambourine and a stomp box. So at that busking spot, which I played there during the week, I played just with a tambourine. But on the weekends, I now had a tambourine and a stomp box, and at first I put the tambourine on the same foot that I was playing with the stomp box, and then I realised if I stick the tambourine on the other foot and I have to take a seat with me and I sit down, I could get different beat combinations, because I was getting very bored of playing the same 5 tunes. They were my own songs, and I think IC might have been one of them. I think Mama was in there as well, and the other songs I don't think they ever made it onto the IC album. They were just blues jams basically. Yeah, the moment I sat down and I had a tambourine on one foot and a stomp box on the other, and I think I changed the stomp box like a year later or 6 months later to a tom drum that I turned into a bass drum basically, and I had a kick pedal for it. When I changed it to that, I was like, this is interesting. You know what I mean? Because like I actually learned, I think the drums were my first instrument actually. I kind of learnt music through the drums and through rhythm. And then I picked up the guitar later. So once I realised that, I was like, well, if I get different beats, and I've always loved drumming, do you know what I mean? I thought, well, what if I actually become the drummer that I've been looking for? You know what I mean? Instead of like, you know, trying to get band projects going. And all the meantime, while this is going on, as I say, this show was just like to make me money at the weekends. During the week, I was trying to put a band together, but that never happened, you know? So, yeah, like I think once I realised that, then I got interested into the idea. Then I typed in one-man band instruments into Google. And my following was starting to build up. This is when it was starting to build up when I changed it to that one. And also people starting to get to know who I was, because I've been busking for so many years, just as this blues man on the side of the street kind of thing. And then when I typed in one-man band instruments, a few various things came up, and the Farmer foot drum was the one that stood out and was like, okay, that looks like you could really fucking have it. Yeah. And then I realised you could just get a cymbal there, and then you could actually have a rock moment. Do you know what I mean? I can have a fucking chorus. Do you know what I mean? And I was sold.
Yeah, man. Were there many like one-man band people that you were kind of influenced by also? Because I know like there's Possessed by Paul James, American guy who's like sits on a chair. He's got like a really long plank of wood. That's one of the percussion things. There's like Hollow Belly with the bass drum. Were any of those folks kind of that you like stumbled across or you've been listening to?
Well, it was C6 Steve when he came on Jules Holland and did the Doghouse Boogie. I remember when that happened, and I was just like, wow, that blew me away. You know, but it's a bit of a one-trick pony, I find, because like it works well with that song. Yeah. Now you need to find 9 other songs that it works with that setup. That's quite hard to do, actually. So, yeah, to have an entire set of ones like that is quite difficult. So I kind of, my influence only went to that point. You know what I mean? It didn't go beyond that. And that's why, like I say, to have a more expressive drum kit as a one-man band allows you to be influenced by other artists that maybe aren't even one-man bands, you know. And if you get influenced, let's say, by different bands that are like 3-piece, 5-piece, and then you try and do your own take on their music, it's going to sound completely different because you're so much more limited. So then you come up with your own sound, you know. And that was what was interesting for me, was developing my own sound with this one-man band thing. You know, something I've been looking for so long. It's like my own signature sound, you know.
No, definitely, man, because I've known and I've listened to a load of different things, and I've tried to do a stomp box and like a kick drum for my own shit, and I know it's just because I'm not in my head, it's just not something I can like do while playing, so it's just this straightforward like dun 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 Like, it doesn't really get much. And now, which after like a song will get boring as fuck.
Yeah.
But I remember the first video I saw of you was the Extinction Rebellion one.
Yeah.
With the Mama song, and the fucking fill you did there was like, fuck, like holy shit. But with that contraption that you play now, like, how long did it take you to kind of build that?
To get it, well, to build it, what is in myself to
kind
learn.
of like think about what you needed and what you wanted, and then to actually create the thing.
Right. Okay. I guess it was. I think I tried out a few different things. So I think actually no. Do you know what it was? I immediately knew, because the Farmer foot drum, it comes with, you can either have a tambourine on one of the pedals on the left hand side. You can either have a tambourine or you can have a hi-hat. And I chose a tambourine to go there, because I didn't. If you have a hi-hat, you'd only be closing it and opening it. Yeah. Whereas what I really wanted was an open hi-hat being hit with a stick. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of went, and I couldn't get that. So I was like, okay, on the left-hand side, the only thing I can get is either an opening and closing hi-hat or a tambourine. So I was like, fuck it, I'll go for a tambourine. And actually, that was actually the best move I made. And I was going to try lots of different things until I got it right. But that was actually the best decision I made, because that was a really good one of keeping the time just with those small beats, you know. Yeah. And it gave me a signature sound. Like, there's always a tambourine going on usually in the verses. You know what I mean? And then when I realised I needed the cymbal as well on the next left-hand pedal, that was another game changer, because then I could fucking have it properly, you know, and sound like no one-man band's actually ever sounded. And then I just went for a jingle stick on the other side. I'm gonna get a cowbell involved as well. I think that's the next thing I'm gonna do for the third album. But I think it was, to be honest with you, it's the setup is important, but it was the amount of time it took me practicing that got it right. You know what I mean? It was trying to figure out the beats that worked best with the songs, and you take it song by song. You know what I mean? You got this one riff where it's like, maybe it needs, I don't know, 4 to the floor, or maybe it needs an actual broken beat or something, and it's working out what works the best. And some of the beats, man, when it's in your head and you're trying to actually get it down, like I've spent days on a beat trying to get it right, and it's still not there, you know, and then you come back to it a few weeks later and it's still not there. There's one beat that I unlocked actually for the third album recently over lockdown, because I had so much fucking spare time. It was a beat that I never thought was possible, and I spent a few more weeks on it, and it's something I tried like years ago when I first got the foot drum. I realized I just disregarded the beat. I was like, nah, it's not possible. This is the boundaries, this is the limitations of one-man banding. And then I managed to unlock it in lockdown, so I was like fucking sick, and then all these new riffs came out as a result, you know. So I guess it's song by song and rhythm by rhythm, you know. But just trying to get it tight, that's the other thing. Yeah. You know, and not sloppy. No. If possible. Yeah. And with recording IC and Crocodile, did you record all of that in one go and basically one takes, or did you split up the drum sides and the guitar sides to try and, you know, just focus on them a bit more, or how did you record them? It was one take kind of thing. Yeah, just recording the bass guitar track and the drums in one. Like IC, we started that actually with me singing as well at the same time, but unfortunately the vocals bled through to the snare. Oh yeah. Do you know what I mean? Well, the snare bled through onto the vocals actually. So we ended up not doing it like that and re-recording the vocals later. But ideally, in an ideal world, I'd like to just record it in one, vocals, everything, just get it all in one, try and get a magic take as I do live, you know. It's sometimes, I think on the second album as well, we did some I went over the guitar tracks with the second guitar track, not a third, just a second guitar track, just to thicken up the guitar sound. And also you can't do that on the slide. It has to be on the songs where there's no slide, because with a slide it sounds like it's out of tune, you know. So when there's slide involved in the song, that's just one guitar, and the same guitar that was played with the drums. But it's nice to have that layered guitar sound for sure. Yeah, I always think, because I double up my acoustic stuff, obviously, if it's not a slide and things, because it just gives you that thicker sound, but you don't want to be like to the point where it's like 5 or 6 or something where it just gets obscene, but it's just something to just like subtly thicken out that you can live kind of compensate for with the room and stuff, but with the recording it is like you just need to chuck a bit extra on there. And do you think with the kind of like how it's progressing, and with not necessarily the need for a band, but you'll have like this autonomy of yourself, would you bring in someone to take over the drums at some point, or do you think the one-man band format for you will like stick with it until eternity? I don't know, man. It's something I've been thinking about definitely this last few months. something I've spoken about with Marcus, my producer and manager. And yeah, it's like at some point he's going to have to change into something, whether it be I keep my solo project and just bring in musicians, session musicians essentially, and go that way, or whether I just keep it as a one-man band forever. And if I have all the other ideas that I have that can't be done in a one-man band setup, I then start a band or start a few different bands, you know. One thing I found very frustrating before anyone knew who I was and what I could do was trying to work with musicians that didn't give enough of a shit. So I'm hoping I'll get to a point where my reputation allows me, so I filter through those kind of people and get to work with musicians who are keen and who are, you know, professional. But yeah, like I don't know what's going to happen. I haven't really made my mind up. I think to be honest, I'm more keen about the idea of starting new projects and new bands. But I might change that at any point, you know.
Cool, man. And how did you and Marcus meet?
He saw me busking.
Oh yeah.
Years ago. Yeah. He saw me busking, and offered to mix one of my do me an album basically. And he helped me with one of the first busking albums, and then a few years later I came back to him and I was like, look, I've actually got a bit of a following now. I need to make a proper album with the foot drum, and would you like to manage it? And he said yes, and then we've been doing that ever since.
That's so cool, man. And what do you think, like, he's kind of brought to because he did the production side of things as well, what do you think he kind of brought in that you not necessarily if you were too close to it to see, or did he give you like a perspective or a sound that you were looking for?
Marcus is one of these really great producers and mixers that just tries to capture what it is that I do. He'll make suggestions at times, but he like me serves the song. And that's the only reason. Well, no, it's not the only reason, but it's one of the main reasons I work with him, is that he serves the song. You know, like I found a lot of producers and managers in the past want to just put their 2 cents in just to get it in. So then they have stated, say, oh, I helped with that song, or I co-wrote, or I co-produced or something, and they're not thinking about what is actually serving the song. You know what I mean? So he'll only ever suggest something when there's a bit in the song where it's like, it's lacking, I'm getting bored at this part for some reason. Then he'll make suggestions, we try it. I also make suggestions, we work together in that way until it works, and until it gets to the point where it's like we both hear it and you go, that's right. We keep suggesting stuff, or we abandon it. You know what I mean? You know? But yeah, and in terms of like mixing, he'll do a mix that he feels is right, and then I might suggest some certain things. But I'm only suggesting stuff because I'm trying to figure out if it might sound better if we do it like this or that, the other, and then he might do the same. We kind of work together. What I like about how we work is that neither of us feel as though we're in charge of it. That the song is in charge of what.
Exactly.
You know
it's
what
like
I mean?
you're both seeing what that song needs at that point. It's never about an ego or perspective to be like, well, I told him to put the tambourine there. Or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool, man. And did you get many people approaching you on the street while you were busking to like offer you the will?
Thousands. Honestly, so many people. There's so many nutters out there, man. So many nutters, and some of them, they trick you, and you believe it, and then you go around to their house and have a meeting, and then you realise, oh fuck, this is bullshit. And that's lucky, because you end up signing that piece of paper that they give you, then you're fucked.
Like, how many times did you actually end up in someone's house or in an office?
I think that only happened. It happened mostly when I was younger. So back in my early 20s, I did that a lot because I wanted an easy route. And once I had some bullshit scenario happen to me a few years ago with a management team, and just all the experience I had of managers up to that point, and music industry people, wankers, basically, was a terrible experience. So after a while, I was like, I don't give a fuck, actually. I don't even want to be a rock star at this point. Like, I don't give a shit. I just want to play. So I ignored every single one of them that came up to me from that point for about 3 to 4 years. And that was when I was doing that was when the one-man band stuff was evolving, And yeah, it's interesting because I think the moment you just not focus on that, but focus on playing music to people, that's when you start to get a fan base, because that's what you should be focusing on as a musician, I think. So many musicians I find are so just warped and, well, they just they concentrate all of their time on trying to find the person to make them successful.
Yeah.
But it's not what it's about, and really you should be focusing on just playing, you know?
Yeah, it's too many artists think that the manager will bring the fans in.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
It's never gonna happen. Like, I've
Never.
seen like so many artists who have, like, they're not doing badly, but it's like they aren't bringing in like even 10, 20 people to a show.
Yeah.
And they're starting to get managers, and you're just like, that's not gonna benefit anyone in the long run. That's just gonna benefit the managers to fleece you dry.
Absolutely. Yeah, man.
But with obviously busking and stuff, so you toured before, not at this level or with these venues. How much tour have you been up to Edinburgh before?
Yeah. I played the Fringe Festival a few years ago.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I played. Well, it was just on the street. Like, I didn't have a gig or anything, but yeah, I played up the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. I played most towns and cities in England. I've played. I mean, I've done like busking tours. You know, when you do your own tour, you don't get any gigs. You fuck it. I'll do my own tour. You know what I mean? I'll just drive to various places and just set my shit up and play. You know, and half the time it's better than a fucking tour, especially in the early days, because it's, you know, I played to like 200 people on the street, as opposed to, you know, a room with, you know, playing to the barmaid and some dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was always kind of my viewpoint, was like, I wasn't busking, but it was, I wouldn't tour a venue at all, like a bar or a coffee shop or something that already has like a pre-built audience in, because if you're like, if I wouldn't come here and play Sneaky Pete's because I have to sell tickets, then no one's going to give a shit. But I'll go and play a bar that's going to have people in at that night to try and win them over. And it's the same thing with the street, I think. But with street busking, do you have to adjust your set, or do you have any kind of thoughts as you're going into a street gig that would be different to like tonight at Sneaky Pete's?
Well, it depends on the gig. So it's like, you know, there's gigs where you're playing to a crowd of people that don't, if there is a crowd of people in the gig, but they don't know your music, and that's kind of similar to a busking gig, but not exactly the same. Because in a busking gig, you know, people are walking by and you kind of got to stop them for a start. They're not there to see any music. So that's the only difference. And then of course there's a gig where people are there to see you, so then there's the expectation, and that's what kind of floored me and threw me a little bit on my first gig after lockdown. But yeah, like that's the main differences, you know. In a way, the street is actually something that I prefer the most, especially once you've got a show that you know works, you know, because when you're setting up, you've just got this little smirk on your face, knowing that, like, you know, the moment you start playing, it's going to be a fucking party here, you know, and these people don't know, but you know, you know. And then there's the show within the show. The show within the show is how you are experiencing the show, and that's what's really interesting, you know. You kind of know what's coming, and it's like a little game you're playing with the crowd, you know. So yeah, busking is an interesting art, and also playing a gig as well to a crowd of people that don't know your music. That's always a fun one as well, especially when you've got your show down. You know, if you're not rehearsed enough and you feel not, like, lacking confidence and stuff like that, it's not so nice, obviously. But once you've got your shit together and you know you're gonna smash it, that's also really, really nice and really exciting. You know, I like those kind of shows. It took me a little bit of time to get into playing to a crowd that knew all my tunes and were expecting something, because then obviously the idea is try to exceed their expectations. You know, smash it anyway, smash it even harder if you can. But yeah, that's the aim of the game, I suppose. Yeah,
that's been the really fun thing with this tour, is obviously everyone's here to see you. So I'm just like the person who's like the unknown quantity, and that was like, I wrote my set list specifically to grab people by surprise, because I knew that obviously you're doing like this heavy blues type deal, so people are going to be expecting that. Obviously I've not got like the overdrive or the percussion, so it's like, what can I do in my set to just like do the heaviest songs, hit them hard. And then I've been tweaking it just ever since, obviously Birmingham, everyone snapped strings, so that didn't help anyone's set. But it's trying to like, what's going to stop people. And the fun thing about the Glasgow one was, even though the doors opened as I was playing, it was like, how many people are going to start getting to turn around, and how many people are going to start actually getting to pay attention to this and get engaged with it. And that is like the fun thing, as you know, you're starting to win people over.
And then you realise what worked, and then you use it again, it works again, and like, you know what I mean, there's little things you can do that just build it up, you know. And it's it's fun, isn't it? It's fun working these things out and then playing them and then doing them, and then you kind of know, you almost know what's going to happen. It's like you can predict the future of half an hour of you being on stage, because you know, if you do this and this, you get a round of applause and you get a really good reaction. If you do this and this and this, they don't like it, you know, whatever it is, you can predict, you know. It's interesting.
And it gives you kind of like a confidence to it, because you know, you got like as a musician, you grapple with like feeling like you're shit
Mm.
most times.
Yeah.
So when you can like kind of know that what you're doing is good enough to get a response pretty much every time, no matter where you are, it just starts giving you a bit more of like a currency to be able to take them risks, and it gives you a confidence to know, well, this is probably gonna work. So let's just like expand on it more and keep trying to exceed that expectation.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, man. Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, just trying to exceed that expectation, and always looking for those things. There's never a limit, you know what I mean? There's never a threshold.
Yeah.
You know, because of the, you know, even if you reach that, what you think is that threshold, that limit, you're going to get bored. Playing the same stuff all the time, playing the same show, you know, it has to evolve and change at some point to something else, you know what I mean? Yeah, trying to keep your own interest, because if you get bored, then they're going to get bored, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And what's kind of been like the feedback from the shows? Obviously, like you've been doing, or like at the end of it you've been taking pictures with everyone and sending things. What's kind of, have you been blown away by that response of people coming over to you? Because it's been a really, from what I've seen of it, it's a really positive reaction.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, I mean, like it's been interesting to me to have that. I've never had that experience before of being treated like I'm a professional musician, I suppose, you know what I mean? Like, after busking gigs, I would get people come up to me and speak to me at the end, but it was never in this way. I was never treated as like someone who's going to be famous, for example.
There's a difference, I think, it's like with the street thing, and when you're playing like an unknown gig, people kind of come up to you and they're still like, it's not necessarily a like they're not condescending to you, but they're like, oh, well done, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think I'd enjoy that, but when you're in a venue and it's like you've travelled, there's like a weight to you that people like have like a respect for, even if they just kind of respect it a bit more with like it being in a different venue and stuff.
I think as well, it's like on the street and you just see some hippie just absolutely smash a rock blues show. It's a bit more like a magical experience. Like, who even is this guy? No one even fucking knows. Like, it's not even like fucking. That's not really what it's about. It's just like you just had a moment. Probably not going to happen again, kind of thing. Or it might happen again if you pass through this town. You know, a lot of people that you're busking to are tourists, you know. So I don't know what's going on in their heads, but whatever it is, they just think they just had a really sick time. They don't think much more of it. Whereas in a gig, people are following you, you know, so they come to see you. They've watched all your videos, and yeah, there's a bit more of that kind of starstruck kind of thing going on. You know what I mean? Whereas on the street, they've never seen you before. You're just some hippie, you know. So it's like, yeah, it's just different, I suppose. Yeah, it's just a different experience when you meet the people at the end and they meet you. You know, I guess it's because they've got in a gig, as I say, they've been following your social media. They've seen you many times before, so it's a different concept. They may even have an idea of what you're like. Yeah, you know what I mean. Whereas when it's on the street, it's completely fresh. It's new. What they've seen is that they've met you that day, and that's what it is. You know. So yeah. Yeah.
Is it weird to have that kind of meeting someone in the area and have a preconception of you? Because I know, obviously, with your social media, like I've seen some of the comments. Like it was even that picture you put up the other day where you had like a joint, and guy was like, "Please don't smoke." And it's like, it's weird to see someone care that much about someone they may not necessarily have like met. And is that preconception like a hard thing to deal with online and like at gigs?
I honestly don't give a shit. I've had people have preconceptions about me my whole life, and they can continue that as long as they want. It's never going to change the way I am. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, I'm trying to think if I had anyone, because on social media people do it all the time. It's amazing. Social media is like this, you know, they've got like they've got this like wall of armor around them. They can say what they want, they can do what they want, they can take liberties on any kind of level. And people do on social media is fucking atrocious. Whereas in reality, face to face, people very rarely tell you what to do with your life. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to think if there's anyone actually said anything of that kind of nature. No, I don't think they have. Everyone who I've met has been really nice and really polite. Yeah, there hasn't really been. I mean, most people take one look at me and they make a good enough judgment and think, yeah, he probably does smoke cannabis. You know what I mean? Probably. You know, it's not my business to tell him not to. Or, you know. But yeah. I'm trying to think what the question was now. I've been rambling.
But that reminds me, I drove past a cannabis cafe here.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't know, like, because it's not legal in Scotland or anything, so I want to know what the fuck they're selling.
Fuck no, it's probably just CBD stuff. I reckon. Yeah. I mean, I think for very like posh clubs, I think it is legal.
Yeah.
I've only heard about this. I've never been to them. I've only, because you know Theresa May's husband sells it.
Yeah.
He grows it and sells it. So I don't know how that fucking works. I don't know what loopholes are going on with them.
It's just if you're rich enough to get away with it, I guess.
Basically, I think
bullshit,
that's how
man.
it works. Yeah.
But I drove past it and it's like it was a full like storefront with like the pot leaf on it.
Yeah.
Like cannabis coffee house and bakehouse, and I was like,
The fuck.
what the fuck are you guys selling? But yeah, I might try and track it down at some point, but I'll probably be disappointed.
Well, as I say, like CBD is legal.
Yeah.
I've bought that online, and that's completely legal. And it doesn't really taste like the real McCoy, though. That's the thing. I was trying to do that so I wasn't high so often. It's a bit much if you're too high all the time. So yeah, I was trying to like cut down that and trying to cut down the THC and trying to get on the CBD. So it might just be a CBD place, you know what I mean? I've seen those places before. I've never seen a cafe though. Yeah. We've got to check it out, man.
Yeah, I'll give it a Google. But we're coming up to, it's been 30 minutes. We've got sound checking like 15 minutes or so, so I don't want to keep you like too long. But I wanted to hit your songwriting process because it wasn't until we were talking the other day and you talked about like new metal being like an influence on you.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was when I was listening to like heavy, because there's that riff with like the high. Is it because you have like 5 strings with the tunings, it's the high F, is it? Or is it the high B?
Yeah. The little thin string?
Yeah.
So you're talking about that'd be a B.
Yeah, so it's that reminded me of like a Korn style song, and I think it was in Steam. It's like it's got that new metal vibe to it. Do you write like riff first, or is it, you know, as and when with saving the song what?
Yeah, it's mainly riff kind of first. It's very rare that I'll have the beat first, but sometimes it can be a beat and then a riff goes on top because the riff was inspired by the beat. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, it is kind of new metal inspired, very new metal inspired. Except the instruments are like more sort of blues rock instruments. You know, they're vintage stuff with vintage tone. Yeah. You know, but with these more like new metal riffs, which gives it its own vibe. You know, which that's kind of what I go for, really. That's the idea, is like changing the instruments but having similar kind of bass riffs. Almost sounds like a new genre, if you will, you know, or something. It just sounds different, you know. But yeah, what was I gonna say on that? Yeah, I think that's it.
Because I think with blues kind of being like the starting point of rock and metal, it's like if you start adding the electric guitars, the amps and stuff, like blues, slowly you can see it evolve into metal. But what you kind of done is taken that metal and then the blues instrument, you can see kind of like the mean point where it goes back down towards the blues of it all. Yeah,
well, they are similar, you know what I mean? They are similar. Like, so I've sometimes had a blues riff, and then just as like a breakdown for the middle 8 or wherever, you just take it a bit metal, and it's like, oh, that works with that. That's interesting. Blues and metal can work together, you know. They've just got to find the meeting point. You know, and it's the same with like stoner rock and doom rock. They can go into blues. They're very easily going into blues. You know, the softer the rock is, the easier it is to go to blues. But even the heaviest of metal can also be mixed in with blues. You know, and folk music as well. Folk music is, I think that's what, because people often say it comes, metal and rock comes from blues, but I think there's a lot of folk instruments influence into rock and metal, because like the chord progressions, they're not all 12 bars. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's a lot of folk in there. There's a lot of folk, and if you listen to old school folk like Pentangle, Fairport Convention, you know, these guys inspired Led Zeppelin, which then inspired Black, you know, and Black Sabbath, and they were the originators of metal. You know, so yeah, there's all different types of chord progressions at hand at use, and they can work within each other. I think you know, folk and blues can work together, and therefore like metal, you know, and stoner rock, and then back to folk again. It can all be jumbled up. You know.
Definitely. And with your lyrics, obviously, you're socially conscious and you've got like a mind for like the political things you've done, like the Extinction Rebellion protests and stuff. With lyrics, do you try and find a balance between like the social political commentary things and like the more just straight up like blues songs, like inspired lyrics? Like, what's kind of your thought process after you've got the riff and the beat? What do you see after that for the lyrics?
It depends. I try and listen to the melody and see what it sounds like. If it sounds like angry and aggressive, then I'll try and voice something within me that is a bit angry and aggressive. If it's more chilled, then I'll try and go with a chilled
Yeah.
vibe. But it depends, man. It's fucking. Sometimes it's trying to find a subject to write about. It's hard. It's like what actually moves me enough to put pen to paper.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I often find just like writing about girls is just a cop out because it's so easy to do. You know, try and write about other things. But if the song, you know, feels girly or it feels like, you know, that kind of romantic thing, or even just it feels just sexual in some way, then that's the right time to write about it. But when it's not and it feels something else, I try and use another topic, you know. And in terms of like social and political, it's like I try and pick them very carefully. And sometimes I look back and I'm like, well, maybe I should have written that about something else, you know what I mean? But yeah, you very carefully pick those, pick the right melody for that topic, you know what I mean? I try to, because if you just do every song about that, then it just sounds like you're preaching. You know, I don't want to sound like I'm preaching at all. Everyone has got their own opinions and ideas of what's going on. And I'm lucky enough to have a platform to express that. So when I feel it's the right time, I will do. You know, and yeah, I've just got to try and make sure it is the right time. You know when you've got it right. You definitely know when you got it wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because with songs like it's commercial people, that's like quite one of those ones where it's like a commentary and things. Do you remember specifically like when you came to write that one? If there was a certain event or something that inspired that one?
I think
because I think probably busking in the streets of London doesn't help. Like you have to you see those type of people around and stuff, so you've been saturated in that for a while when you're playing around. Yeah,
definitely. I think it's just a number of experiences led to that song, to be honest with you. I think it was a number of experiences and just seeing how mainstream people act like a fucking herd. Literally like a herd of sheep, like a herd of animals or something. They all follow one another. No one makes up their own mind, and it's very instinctually done out of fear. There's not a lot of bravery from the herd. There's not a lot of courage. There's actually not a lot of humanity, which is why I've became quite angry towards that. And it's almost like they're not doing it out consciously. They're not joining the herd, the mainstream flock or whatever it is. Consciously, they're doing it because it makes life easier to fit in. It makes life better for them to fit in, not because it's right or not. It's why people voted for Hitler. You know what I mean? This is what it is, you know. There's been times where I've been on the street, right, busking. I played a show, and when the show's over, they literally stand there at the front row, the whole crowd, and they'll be filming you the whole time. That's what they'll do. And people will come over to me and go, "Oh look, we were filming, and halfway through the show, we caught it on camera. A guy just went and took some money out of your case." And I'm busy playing. I didn't even notice the guy. Just went and took a few notes. And I was like, "You're filming this. Why didn't you stop him?" And there's 3 of you approaching me. They had no words for me.
Fuck.
No words whatsoever. I was like, fuck. So anyways, the guy came back later on that day because he's an idiot, and I managed to get him on the floor and fucking do whatever I need to do. But later on that day, my mate who was busking, exactly the same thing happened. The same guy, he came back and he robbed my mate's passport out of his bag.
Fuck.
And people filmed it and showed it to him afterwards. It's pathetic. It's fucking pathetic.
That's fucking awful, man, and it is just like cowardly. And I get
it's cowardly, yeah.
The survival instinct that you don't want to rock the boat, but at the expense of another fucking human as well.
It's not hard just to stand up and go, "Oi, he's stealing your money."
Yeah.
You don't have to risk your neck. You just have to say something.
Yeah.
You know, and this is something I've encountered on the street, literally nearly every weekend, of people's cowardice from the mainstream crowd and just normal people. In general, the flock, the masses, you know, and also learning how to control the crowd and get a crowd in the first place. You have to understand how the herd works. You know, you do something and some people stop, and then other people will start to watch because they're watching, not because of what you're doing, but because of they're watching. You know, but once you convince them that the reason they're watching is good, then you can win every single one of them. And the best street show is when they win every single person, not because of curiosity, but because what you're doing is good. You know, and once you win them, another interesting thing happens. I remember there was this one time at a street show where there's this guy in Brick Lane. He used to dance when I played, and his dancing was a bit out there. It was a bit, you know, he wasn't dancing in a manly way. He was dancing, I don't know, in a funny, silly way. I don't know. You couldn't really explain it. Anyways, some other dude walked through the crowd, and started having a go at him for being homosexual. Or he started claiming that the guy was homosexual, and he had a problem with that, or something like that, you know. and I saw what was happening, and he was getting a bit aggressive and like headbutting him a little bit and just being really abusive. And again, whole crowd of people, maybe about 80 people, everyone watching, doing nothing. I'm playing a fucking song here. Anyways, I stopped my song to tell the guy, you can't do that, you know, stop being a dick. And he keeps going, even I'm telling him, oi, stop, what the fuck are you doing? Stop. And then I realised, hang on a minute, and the whole crowd are watching me. So I thought, hang on a minute, maybe I had them won by this point. I knew that they you know, they were listening to every word I said. I then told the entire crowd to boo this guy. The whole crowd did immediately what I said, and we booed him. And the guy had walked away because he couldn't handle the
public shame of it.
Yeah, the public shame, exactly. So it's interesting, once you've won this crowd, you can actually use them to do things, you know, but they won't actually act for them.
No.
There's very few people act as individuals in this world. Most people act as followers and have a herd like thing. And once you realise that, and it's not like something that is like, you know, it's just something that it is the case, you know. Maybe it's nature, maybe it's just how it works, you know. I don't know.
It's strange, man, because like cults form for a reason. There is just that thing in some humans or in some people that they need that stronger leadership or that stronger presence to tell them what to do and stuff. And it's a weird thing, man, but it's sad that it's always like it's at the expense of someone else. Yeah,
absolutely. I think it just makes life easier in a way, but to follow rather than to lead yourself, you know. Because when you lead yourself, sometimes you can feel like very, very alone, you know, and that feeling of just being self-reliant, which I like to be self-reliant. I try and live my life to be self-reliant. I try and lead myself as much as I can, but at the same time, there are aspects of it that is extremely lonely. You know what I mean? I'm feeling like you haven't got anyone, you know, or no direction. If you don't know where you're going and you're meant to be leading yourself, it's pretty heavy, to be honest with you. You know?
And I think a lot of it sometimes, I think if you're a musician or you're an entertainer or something, you've put yourself on that ledge, you realise that the worst thing that can happen if you put yourself out in front of a bunch of people is people just look at you and then move on. But a lot of people have that like anxiety of, if I say something now, my life's going to be over. And that's it's a fear that I think prevents a lot of people from speaking out against something that's not right, or they see something that is happening and they just don't want to get involved with it.
Well, do you know what, mate? I don't even know if it's fear. I don't know if it even crosses their brain. After all my experience of it, I think literally, like, some people it will be fear. I think it's different. You know, there's a wide spectrum. Do you know what I mean? But a lot of the time, I think it literally is.
It doesn't even enter their heads.
It doesn't even enter their heads. They watch it. They are passively watching something unfold, a violent situation, someone getting mistreated or someone getting taken advantage of, and they will watch it as though they're watching television.
No, that's a really interesting point. It is like it's a passive audience to it.
That's what I've noticed, definitely. The masses tend to do that more than anything else. And it's interesting as well, one person steps in, then we'll go, oh, he steps in, it must be all right then. So I'll step in and stand up for what's right. You know what I mean? You can have a knock-on effect. You know? I think people behaving badly as well and mistreating others. I've seen that on the street with someone mistreating someone. Another person will see that and go, oh, he's getting away with that. Oh, I can do that. I can get away with that. And it has a knock-on effect. You know, when there's natural disasters and catastrophes like hurricanes and stuff, there's often loads of rapes, loads of violent crime happens exactly the same time, because people see a loophole and go, oh, there's all this other madness going on. I can get away with this. And then other people see that happening, so they go, oh, I can get away with it. It's awful, man. It's like a knock-on effect. Who's in charge? That's what I want to know. You know?
And then the second someone says no one, it's just like a free-for-all.
This is it. But it's like, you know, who's the one that makes the decision? Is it the second person after they've seen someone do something and they think, oh, I'll copy that? Or is it the first person? Who had the idea in the first place? And where's it all fucking come from? You know what I mean? It's weird, man.
It is fucking weird. But with self-reliance, so that van that you're touring out of now, is that like your main like place to stay and stuff?
While I'm touring, that's the tour van. But I've got another truck that I lived in for like 4 years, and that one, which is like 7.5 ton horse box.
Oh yeah.
And then and that was it's a bit more kitted out. I'd say it's like a bit of a Hobbit house kind of style thing. And I've lived in a van before that, which was a 3.5 ton Luton horse box, and then before that it was a camper van. And then before that it was just a normal van. So there's been a few different wagons as time's gone on. But I've been trying to be self-reliant. I guess I am self-reliant now, and but when I started this whole journey was when I was 20, and I started to move onto the road. But yeah, it takes time to actually become. And even still, am I really self-reliant? Fucking hell, I go to Tesco's. You know what I mean? What is self-reliance? Is it like literally living in the woods with a bow and arrow? How far do we take this shit, man?
Yeah, has there been things like living in the vans and stuff and touring in them that's like made you like less materialistic, and with that self-reliance it gives you a stronger sense of self and identity, because obviously you're with your own company the most. Have you kind of discovered that about yourself, that's something you not necessarily just craved but needed to find out about yourself?
I've always wanted to be somewhat self-reliant. I've always liked the idea of just like, you know, I don't really want anyone's help if possible, and obviously the system and civilization is everyone helping everyone. You know, there isn't really that many people living by themselves, and even still, if you try to do that, you are probably going to be needing some supplies from civilization. So I've kind of liked the idea, but I think it's a bit of a false kind of. I don't think it really properly works. You know what I mean? You need to have a team of people. I don't think humans can actually survive completely on their own.
No.
You know, and if you are, it's a full-time fucking job, so I better give up being a musician. You know, but I think like certain things, it's good to rely upon yourself, and not necessarily because just to do them. For example, like, you know, not being part of the nation toilet system or being part of the electric grid system. You know what I mean? And having certain things that you just do yourself simply because the technology is there and you can. But also the lifestyle that comes with it. I can go wherever I want, man. You know, I can go to somewhere in the fucking mountains or in the woods or something, and I don't mind that I fucking, you know what I mean, take a shit in the bushes, you know what I mean, or have to rig up my solar or rig up my my 12-volt electric in the van. You know, it means that I can go there and I can be there and I can escape from whatever fucking bullshit's happening around here, get away from people, you know what I mean. It allows me, it gives me that freedom. Freedom is the most important thing to me, you know. I'd say even above being anti-establishment or anti-system, to be honest with you, just being able to be free. And you could even argue that the civilization and the system allows me to be freer. So why am I against it, you know, in a way? And I think in a way that's probably true, you know.
But again, it's with how the system and society is rigged, you have to try and find whatever you can to exist within that in like the happiest
in a way
and like most responsible way. And if that involves like breaking out of it to a degree, because I don't think you can ever truly go fully off the grid, especially in like the UK and stuff, because people have like private land's a thing, so it's just almost an impossibility.
There's not enough land in the UK, but there's no, it's not illegal to do so, you know. And there are certain things you can forage, and there are certain creatures that you can hunt, you know what I mean, with an air rifle. So you could kind of break away completely, but do you want to? It's actually easier to, like, you know, do something you love, like even just like busking or something, and then live off the money you make from that. It's not very much, you don't need very much to live on the road, and once you make enough money, then you just, you know, you do your food shop, and then you live your lifestyle, and you've got more time on your hands to live your lifestyle, whatever that is, you know what I mean. So yeah, I think, as I say, it's more about, it's less the anti-system thing, but more of the freedom thing, which is really what it's about, the lifestyle, you know. A lot of people who claim to be kind of like anti the system, in a way the system benefits them, you know. And when I have this conversation with them, I was like, well, what are you going to do without the system? You know, what are you actually going to do? You know, do you actually, if you really want to live outside the system, then you've got to grow your own food, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to do this other stuff. It's going to take your whole life. And they go, oh, yeah, I know, yeah. And they never do it. Because it's too, they actually rather do the job they're doing or whatever it is, you know what I mean? And complain. rather than, do you know what I mean? So yeah, that's the reality of the situation, I think, you know. I think it's not so much, people aren't anti the system because of what the system is. I think people are anti the system because of how certain decisions that politicians make that they have no control over. The fact they have no control over the system, you know, is a bit of an issue, and there's certain problems within the system. But the system in itself, have you got a better idea? Well, if you want to go back to tribal times, fucking go for it, man. But it's fucking hard work. The reality is, it's hard work, you know. So I think it's a little gratitude sometimes is in order. You know, a little gratitude. But yeah.
Yeah, I've been thinking. I read a story the other week about like, do you know when it's like shopkeepers reveal the weirdest stories ever and shit? In one of those, and someone was like in a fucking Walmart or something, and some guy came out into the place to buy something and didn't have a mask on. Everyone was like, "You need a mask. You need a mask. You need a mask." And he was like, "Why? What the fuck's going on?" And he'd been like living up in the mountains for like 2 years, and he'd just come down to do a supply run. And he found out about the pandemic and shit.
Amazing.
And I was like, that guy must be so fucked. He was like, I bet I should have just fucking stayed up there to come back and then have to realize like all the shit that's happening in society. I felt bad for that guy to just like it was like waking up from a coma and being like,
yeah,
oh
man.
fuck, all this bad shit happened.
And so what, has he run up there and now it's kind of chilled out? He's still obviously...
Yeah, he's done his supply run and gone back.
Okay. Next time he comes down, was he going to be like, oh, is it still going on? And still, just tiptoeing around the place.
Yeah.
We've all
But it's
moved
like
on.
that Japanese soldier who was in the jungle and thought World War II was still going on, and he was in like his 50s. And it was like 1970, and they had to try and get him out the jungle.
That's the problem. Your news like ends the moment you left society.
Yeah.
You think the world's still going to be doing exactly the same shit that happened on the day that you left.
Yeah. But it's
Yeah.
crazy, man. But let's wrap this up and we'll fucking
Safe, dude.
find the cannabis cafe and do sound check. And there we have it, folks. That's episode 41 of Into the Van, Into the Bag. Thank you so much. Please go check out Cam Cole. He is fucking phenomenal. I'm sure he'll be doing another UK tour soon. If you didn't catch him on this one, you missed out. But there will always be hope. He will be back again. If you enjoyed this podcast, please go check out, all the episodes we've done prior. Please leave me a review wherever you can leave a review, wherever you listen to podcasts. Keep doing the things you love. Keep supporting the things you love. I'll see you when I'm married. I hope you have an enjoyable couple of weeks. There is an announcement on Rogue Country today. Please go check out. It is fucking phenomenal. Tickets are going to go on sale on the Friday. So Tuesday we've got the announcement. Friday we've got the sale. What's going on sale, guys? I know you guys don't yet, but please keep an eye out on Rogue Country to find out. And in the meantime, stay safe. Peace.